Welcome back to Wine with Jai. Um, this week, I'm going to focus on key factors. I thought I was doing segments. Segments are not working, so I am going to just lay it out however I'm receiving it. Um, Basically, Wine with Jai is about empowering and helping you transition realistically through life, and the speed bumps and things that you hit along the way, but to magnify the positive points. Um, this subject is going to be about the victory, the arrival, the evolving of elevation. Um, I know it's a lot wrapped into that, so let me go into greater detail. Um, when you have arrived at the things that you need in order to function and move through the next season, when you finally have the keys to the next season of your life, um, there's a couple of things that you need to zone in on. One, you need to focus on what's next. Um, be great at being you. Um, those are all the things that you have detailed, the foundation that you've laid, the things that you live by, the things that you were raised in, all those key factors, the money that you've invested in your education, all those things have to align with all the things that make you you, the experiences that you've had in life. A lot of times you have to just take those for what they are, learn from them, apply them, and move on. Um, a lot of times we often focus on the key things that happened that transitioned our life instead of accepting it for what it is and applying our lessons or things that are being taught or being accountable um, for the things that have happened. And you can't dwell on that for too long, so you have to move on. And along with that, you have to focus on what is the key factors that are playing in being the best you. Um, you have to let your mind focus on what God has for you. And what I mean by that is sometimes you have to tap out of what happened and move into what God has for you. Because if you sit on it too long, then you're going to find yourself in a place where the quicker you identify something and hold everything accountable, and you examine the things that happen and you move on from it, the quicker God can move you, and the quicker things can happen, the quicker you can get back to the next proceeding in the next levels of your life. um Along with that, sometimes you just have to let doors close that God wanted you to close. The quicker you realize that, um, the quicker you can move on, because He wants you to move on, because He wants you to get to the next factors of your life. Um, so, along with that, I think sometimes people get so caught up in, in the down season, and not to say that I'm not being human, but sometimes you literally have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you gotta go. You have to keep moving. Because just like things are being held accountable, you're held accountable. You are responsible for things, if you are a responsible adult. So you have to keep moving. And along with that, you have to make sure that you're closing that door permanently, because you can't revisit things, because then that's damaging to your future. Um, a lot of times we wonder what God is doing, and you're hoping that it's in your best interest. And sometimes God only leaves you, he leaves you in a position to have to trust Him. Um, so you wondering whether or not His best move for you is the best move. He designed your whole path. He designed your whole way of living. So you have to trust that He knows what's best for the next point and area in your life. I think sometimes we think we're the experts because it's us, but at the end of the day, you know, what's meant for you is meant for you, and however your life is supposed to be laid out, that's how it's going to be laid out. There's no one that can maneuver or change details about your life. um, God has a strategic way of doing things to when it's time for you to move to the next level of your life. You can either go willingly or you can go forcefully. Either way, you have to transition. So get over it. Um, Work harder and work smarter. What I mean by that, I think a lot of us have gotten lost in really not knowing that over time, yeah, working harder and working smarter. And most people say you don't want to work harder. You don't, you know, you want to work smarter. Yeah, you want to work smarter, but you always want to still be able. You still want to be able to be singled out. And what I mean by that is when you're working harder, believe you me, hard work is still noticed. Working smarter is still noticeable because that's going to get you to the next level in life. Um, but working harder definitely gets you noticed, and that's taking me way, way, way back to 2 years ago when I first did my first wine with Ja. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times your character is defined by how hard you work and the things that you've invested in what you're doing. Because when people see that you're investing, that means that you're going in and you're doubling down on yourself. Not only are you trusting that the thing that you're working on is going to work because you're working smarter and you're working harder at it. You really have to get down on your knees and do the grunt work. And when you've done the grunt work, there's a certain level of respect that you get from that. And if you're not getting it, then it's time to reposition yourself. Um, Moving into right into God's purpose for your life. Um, I am one for, you know, I have a strategic way of doing things myself that I I can master anything that I'm working at if I work hard and if I work long enough. That means anything that I have ever touched, I've critiqued it. I've examined myself today. I went from, you know, not knowing the moment I had thought everyone said I was having a girl. They like, girl, you can't do hair. I'm like, girl, whew, what are we gonna do? And you know, 6 years later, you know, I'm looking at my daughter's hair and it looks like a professional did it. Like I have mastered anything that my hands have ever touched. So me betting on myself was the best thing that I could do because the one thing about me is that I work so hard and I will critique something so much that it's almost impossible for it to fail. Um, so for me, I would encourage that, and when it's time to move into the next frame of your season, that you move quickly. Um, because the quicker you move, the more things will pan out. You know, I don't think we're used to um, letting God handle things, and it's almost like a strategic thing when you know we say, well, God, I just gotta trust you, when that's what we were supposed to be doing all along, right? um be you, um in every season. You know, it says a lot about your character and it says a lot about who you are, because you know when things are great, it's always to be thankful and to be grateful. And you know when things are going not so well, it's also good to still be thankful and still be grateful, because you know when you look back over your life and you know you say, dang, you know, I've always been that way, I've always been this person. It's not someone that you just met yesterday. So when it comes to not only selling yourself, you don't want to sell yourself short, because of all those things and everything that you've built on yourself and the character and all the things that you've gone through. and everything that your life stands for. Like, you really, I don't know about you, but I really want to leave a legacy. And, a lot of times I think we get so caught up into just get it done, get it over with, and move on. To be detailed and to be able to have a longevity speaks for itself. Um, and so, being you, or if you can carry all those things throughout life, I've come to find out that people will respect you, uh, even in seasons where it's it looks cloudy. It just almost it's almost your recognition for, if I don't do it anymore, I've already done all I can do. Um, and so, along with that, I will honestly say, but you still have to be humble, because God still bless you. I mean, He will bless you if you stay faithful and you stay grateful and you are still thankful. It's a beautiful thing when you're in a season where um, elevation starts to happen, um, and you start evolving, and you start those things that you used to cry over and mope and all of that. Like, when God starts moving you and you just stand still because you're so firm that you know that God is gonna still work. Like, it's like a confidence thing, and you want to be confident in God's work, because when you about, what is that, 32? um, He will start to show you things, and as long as you create a habit of having a relationship with Him, and you constantly speak life into yourself, and you speak life into people around you, and you sow good seeds, um, it builds confidence in knowing what's next. um, it doesn't make you fearful. It may make you nervous, but you're not fearful. um, know when it's your time to arrive. Um, know when your time has arrived. Knowing when your time has arrived means sometimes when you're transitioning, and we struggle. We struggle sometimes, and we struggle more than often. And sometimes when God just finally opens the door and things start to flow, that means your time has arrived. And sometimes elevation requires separation. And the most beautiful thing about separation is, it's not that you feel lonely, it's that you begin to trust God's worth. You begin to trust your own worth. Everything that you have invested in yourself. Um, when you start to see those things work for themselves, it's such a beautiful, beautiful performance. It's beautiful. Because the one thing about God is He will pave the way for your future, baby. I mean, these are some of the keys to your next season. So all those things that you spoke in existence, all those things that you went through, all those things that you forgot about, that you asked God for, baby, when they arrive, sit tight, because doors will start to open. And baby, it's not going to always be a struggle. Sometimes it's just going to happen the way God intended for it to happen. And sometimes you got to sit back, shut up, and hold on to your seat. Well, welcome to the arrival. Wine with Jai. Thanks for tuning in.